Hey guys, Brian here with the Grip Studs Company. In this video, I want to talk just a little bit about skid steer tracks. There's a huge market for those. In fact, it's probably my largest market in the heavy equipment industry. We get a lot of calls of customers that have a used set of tracks. They're asking me questions like, can I use these in my used tracks? Honestly, yes, you can. Use them in your used tracks. How many do I need in my track? We normally recommend a minimum of 150 of the model 1910T per track. If you go any less than our recommendation, you could potentially experience tear-outs, damaged track. Just stick with our recommendation on what we suggest there. Another common question we receive is, can I leave my studs in my tracks year-round? Answer to that question is yes, you can. However, that really kind of depends on what you're doing with the machine during the warmer months. If you're doing forestry work, you're not running over concrete surfaces, asphalt surfaces frequently, they're great. However, if you do use them over concrete surfaces and it's dry, expect some damage to occur to that hard surface. When it comes to installing the 1910T into rubber tracks, we don't have a recommended tread depth. And the reason is because they don't have an air chamber. So one thing we do recommend if you have a heavily worn track is to take a variable speed drill and then maybe an 1/8 inch drill bit and do a couple of test holes in the track where you plan to install the studs to make sure you don't come across any metal components that'll get in the way of the installation of these studs. All right, so let's walk outside and have a look at a couple different track designs.
Okay guys, we moved outside now and I want to show you basically a common pattern you'd find on a lot of the skid steers out there. This one here particularly is called the C pattern. As you can see, it's actually in a C. The stud configuration on this particular track with the model 1910T is going to be one here in the leg, another one here in this leg, and then one right in the center. Now again, that adds 3 per C. Now if you have, let's say, an H pattern track, which it resembles this completely, but it's got a cut right here, you'll add the exact same 3. So you can basically put one here, here, and one right in the center of the H. Now the other really common track you're gonna find is the block pattern. It's the same with that. Just think 3 per block is what you're going for. If you don't, again, as I mentioned earlier, you could risk tear out because think about it like this. Studs all help each other. They share the torque of the machine and the weight of the machine. If you've got 10 people walking down a street with a telephone pole on their shoulders, 5 of those guys run out from under that pole, you just have to think about what's gonna happen to those other 5 remaining people. It's the same as your track. If they're not sharing the responsibility, you're gonna damage your track. So back to the basics, 300 minimum per machine. Track skid steers are not the only thing you can stud. You can do an excavator if you so pleased. You'd use the same model, 1910T, as you'd find in the track skid steers, and the placement is slightly different. You do a minimum of 2 per lug, one here and one here, and just go throughout the machine. Average is gonna be about 125 to 150 per track on these machines.